Practice them individually, yes, but don't practice them and not look at the complete format. Hello and welcome to another video with Tai, the Taste Queen. Today we are doing time management, because if you're studying for TOEFL or IELTS, you need to manage your time. How do you effectively manage your time during one of these proficiency tests? Number one, you study the format. You need to know what you're going to get. You don't want to go into the room, get ready for the test, practice all these different sections individually. Practice them individually, yes, but don't practice them and not look at the complete format. So when you get there, you're like, okay, I need this, and this. I can do this. I might get an extra question for the TOEFL reading, or I might get an extra question in the TOEFL listening. I might not, if you're lucky. After July 26th, you won't get those anymore. But until then, and even after then, you need to make sure what you are going to get. Familiarize yourself with the test format. Another thing that is very, very important is time yourself. When you practice for these tests, make sure you do timed practice. I've had some students who can write amazing essays in an hour. You have 20 minutes. So time yourself. Time yourself. If you have 20 minutes for an essay, don't write until your time is up. Try to finish at least around the 18-minute mark, and then use the last 2 minutes to go back and just check. Because even the best of us make mistakes, especially if we're writing and we make mistakes and we don't often see them. So please give yourself time to go back in all the sections. Give yourself time to go back in the sections that you can go back, that is, to double check and make sure that you've completed everything and you've done everything, and if there are mistakes, you can find them. Another tip that I've given one of my students, this might work for some people, it might not work for others. He is a great student, his English is amazing, but when he writes, he will get to a word and he will get stuck because he cannot find the right word. For example, if he wants to say splendid, and he can only remember good, he will sit there and think until he can think of word splendid or a synonym for splendid or good. What I suggested to him was write good and keep writing, and then finish. Just make a little note so you can go back, and then if you have time, replace the word with a better word. Then you think. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to finish your assignment, the writing assignment, and your assignment will be incomplete. Even though the vocabulary score would not be as high, finish it and then go back. Make notes and then you can think. Then you give yourself some time. You think, okay, I have 2 minutes. Let's find better words, higher vocabulary words. Also, another thing that I want to say, it's vocabulary words, not vocabularies. Just a little side thing there. There's no such thing as vocabularies. It's vocabulary words. Speaking of writing, while we're on the writing topic, another way to manage your time better, practice typing. Especially if you're doing the TOEFL test, it will be online, the IBT, or if you're doing the IELTS computer-based test, typing fast and typing accurately. Practice typing. It sounds like a useless skill. It is so valuable, and it can save you a lot of time. It can save you that time you need to go back and look and fix and replace some words. The next point is notes. Notes. I think if you look at all the videos on my channel, it's either about notes or synonyms. But anyway, notes today. When you do these tests, reading, listening, take notes, especially for the listening section. So how do you take notes? You have to learn to take notes quickly and efficiently, and you have to multitask. Listen and write. Listen as you take notes, and practice taking notes. Notes, it's so valuable. It's such a valuable skill. Learn to take notes and learn to write down key details. Details are the things you need to focus on. And then for the whole of the listening section, you will have an idea. I've said that in a previous video, but you will have an idea what they're saying. So when you listen, make sure you write down as much detail as possible. And then before you do the listening section, before you start answering questions, give yourself a minute, look at your notes and see if it makes sense to you. Just look at your notes, review your notes, and then go start answering questions. Even though it feels like you're going to waste time, it's going to save you time in the end. So learn to take notes and use those notes to answer your question. Don't write stuff that's not necessary. Write down as much as you can, and also make sure that you write it down in such a way that you would be able to read it. I'm not saying it should be neat. I'm saying it should be neat enough for you to read. The next point I want to make is prioritize your time. Don't waste time on sections that will not count as much or sections that are not as important. Make a note of questions that you can understand or you can do and come back to them. This is very important. Do not waste any time. You have to use all the time you have. It's much better to write something, guess, make a note, and then come back if you have time, and then you have a go at it again and try if you can find the answer this time. Don't waste any time on things that are not as big or not as important. For example, the writing section carries a lot of weight, so don't rush the writing section. Skimming and scanning. We've talked about skimming and scanning. These are so important. Skimming is when you quickly go through this with your eyes, like you basically read the middle of the paragraph and you just skim what it's about, get the main idea. Scanning is when you look at the questions and then you look at the reading passage and you try to find the relevant place in the passage where that question comes from. So they're quite different, but learn to skim, learn to scan, do not read. Do not read everything. It's going to waste a lot of time and it's going to confuse you. Skim and scan, skim and scan. You can answer all the questions by just skimming and scanning in the reading section. The last piece of information that I want to give you for time management is learn to work under pressure and learn to relax when you are in a stressful situation. They don't sound like they go together, but learn to work effectively under pressure. And when you get to the test, it's going to be stressful. It's going to be a stressful situation. Because I've said before, these tests are expensive. These tests are difficult. You need to be able to function as a normal human being under this stressful situation. Avoid caffeine, like I said in one of my earlier videos. If that triggers you, make sure you inhale, make sure you exhale, make sure you breathe. If things get too difficult during the test and you feel a little bit overwhelmed, take a breather, tell yourself it's going to be okay, and then continue. Not in the listening section, because in the listening section you don't have time to breathe, but try to breathe while you're listening, because it is very important not to make mistakes, because when we're stressed, we make mistakes. More haste, less speed, and that is true. If you rush, you're going to make mistakes and it's going to slow you down in the end. So breathe, focus, think clearly, and work through it step by step, and you will do well. I hope this video made sense. I hope this video helped you. Practice these things. Practice typing, practice focusing, practice multitasking, practice leaving things, continuing, and then coming back. Practice giving yourself more time and to think clearly. If you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Please like this video. It helps with the algorithm, and please subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. Love you all, and I will see you next time. Little heart, little friends. Mwah.